Ocean, high on the highest mountain, in the forest, in the desert, you can see God.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the day of resurrection. All of us read about it in the Quran and elsewhere. We heard or read the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah exalt his mention, in which he talked about it. The day of resurrection. The infinite wisdom of Allah requires that there would be a day in which everybody will be requited. And that's what is called, sometimes Allah called it Yawm al-Din. Yawm al-Din is the day of requital. As-Sa'ah, the hour. Al-Yawm al-Akhir, the final day or the last day. So this day, when all human beings, upon hearing the second blow of the trumpet, the first blow of the trumpet, every creature will drop unconscious. And this is the shock, the blow of the shock. The second blow, it's called the blow of revival. That is to say, when everybody, as a result of the first blow and the blow of the shock, the second one, every human being, from Adam all the way until the last one who was born, they will rise from their graves. And at that point, that day, according to the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah exalt his mention, the sun will be just 1 mile up, as I mentioned previously. And everybody is sweating and sinking in his own sweat, up to his ankles, some of them. Some will be sinking up to their ankles, some up to their knees, some up to their waist, some up to their breasts, some up to their mouths. So, and they will be waiting. They will come out from their graves, as Allah describes them in Al-Quran, like moth that's spreading out, covering the whole space. Then, let me remind you of one thing. Do you know how long that day will be? It's 50,000 years long. 50,000 years long. One day, the day of resurrection is 50,000 years long. And you can imagine, no food, no water, no drinks, nothing, absolutely nothing. And everyone will be standing up naked, barefooted, uncircumcised. In other words, just the day he or she was born. And they'll be standing there, waves and waves of human beings, and eventually will say, can't we find someone who will intercede in our behalf so that Allah would relieve us from this, would relieve us from this stance? Well, some of them will say, let's go to Adam, because Adam is the father of humankind. And, they will go to him, Adam, you are our father. Allah created you with his own hands. Can't you see what we are suffering? Can't you go to Allah and intercede on our behalf? He would say, I'm not your man. I disobeyed Allah, and Allah told me that I should not eat from certain tree in the heavenly garden, which I did. And Allah today is angry like He's never been before. I'm sorry, I'm not your man. Then they will say, let's go to Noah. Noah, of course, we know that he was the first messenger Allah sent to humankind. They would say, Noah, you're the first messenger Allah sent to humankind. And Allah called you in the Quran, Abdan Shakura, grateful slave. He called you grateful slave. Don't you see what we are suffering? Would you like to go and intercede on our behalf? with Allah, of course. He would decline and say, I'm not your man because I asked Allah a question that I should not ask. When his son was drowning, he said, oh Allah, my son. He said, Noah, Allah told him, Noah, he is not your son. He's unbeliever. Anyway, he said, go to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, they would approach him saying, Allah called you his Khalil. Khalil, that means he's the one who has distinguished you with the pure love. Not a friend, by the way. Never say the friend of Allah. It's wrong. They say Allah has distinguished you with what? With the pure love. Can't you see what we are doing here? Suffering. Won't you go to Allah and intercede with him on our behalf? Ibrahim say, no, I have made 3 lies in my life and I can't do that. So he would decline. And when he declined, they would say, let's go to Moses. They will go to Moses. Moses, you are the one whom Allah spoke to you directly. Don't you see what we are doing here? We're suffering. Go on to Allah and intercede with him on our behalf. He would say, I'm not your man because I killed a man in my life. You remember in the Quran? And he would say, I can't do that. And they will go to Jesus afterwards. Jesus, he would never mention any sin that he committed. But he said, I'm not your man. I decline. But go to Muhammad, whom Allah has forgiven his past and future sins. Allahu Akbar. That's Muhammad, is the best of all messengers. And as we know, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said in Surah Al-Fath, Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina. We have given you a great victory. لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ اللَّهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ, so that Allah would forgive your past and future sins. O Muhammad, go and intercede on our behalf with Allah. And the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah exalt his mention, would say, I am your man, Allahu Akbar. I am your man. And he would go. He said, that's the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah exalt his mention. After they ask me, I go to the throne of Allah, where Allah is above it. And Muhammad, may Allah exalt his mention, would say, I prostrate before Allah. I kowtow before Allah, as long as he wants me to. Then Allah will teach me praises. I don't know it now. Only then I'll know it. And after, as long as Allah wants me to keep kowtowing, eventually he would say, Oh Muhammad, raise your head and ask, you will be given. Intercede, and your intercession will be accepted. Thereupon, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala would start taking accounts. Because people will be suffering. Can you imagine the length of that day? With the sun just 1 mile away, 1 mile up only. And everybody is suffering. Thirst, hunger, whatever, you name it. They would just don't mind if they go to hell. At that point they would say, we just want to get out of here. Then Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, after taking accounts of everybody, those who belong to the heavenly garden will be taken to the heavenly garden, and the rest will be standing to be taken away to hellfire. However, as we know, now we have hypocrites around us. We don't know them, right? And we don't judge anybody, because this is only Allah who judges who is hypocrite and who is sincere. But those hypocrites, since they are living with us now, they will stay with the Muslims there as well. But eventually they will be really separated from the believers, and they will be taken to hellfire. And the believers will end up in the heavenly garden. And they will follow them. The hypocrites will follow the believers, according to Surah Al-Hadid. Say, wait for a minute. We want to see. We want the light to see. And no light will be given to them and the door will be closed, inside of which is the heavenly garden. Outside will be only one place for the hypocrites to end up in, that is hellfire. Therefore, this hadith, brothers and sisters, is not a matter of entertainment. It's not a matter of entertainment. The hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah exalt his mention, only to warn us, actually, to make sure that on that day, we'll be on the camp of the believers, not the unbelievers. Keep that in mind. Inshallah, next time I will be talking about a relevant issue as well. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.